higher than Miss Courtney Love, murder in the first degree. Certainly you got me confused with them stupid bras, shooting dice in the streets, taught me how to play the odds. I find it odd that your Twitter page is private. You got 2 phones, one of them stays silent.
Welcome to Lady-O Radio.
Episode 3.
We're on Radio Free Radio, our radio station, radiofradio.com.
Fired.
Nope, we are still on the air, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what kind of act of God that happened. But,
or lack thereof.
Oh, my God.
Not only have we not gotten fired, but we have somehow lured a fine individual to come into this studio, and I use that term incredibly loosely, willingly, because we have our first guest, because, you know, God love her. Did you bribe her?
She's my queen bee.
Woo, oh, look at that. Okay. So
And
we will do things differently then.
So here's a little secret about me, about your co-host, Sarah. I have always dreamed to publish my own novel. And my guest, Leah Ruth Hart, has done that. And she's awesome. She is a writer and a wife and a mother, and her first novel is published on Amazon. Welcome, Leah.
It's our queen bee of the week.
Tell us.
Wanna rumble with the bee, huh?
Yeah, got a rap for her.
Yep, she's official. She got the Missy and everything. Tell us a little bit about your book.
Okay.
Bring it on,
My
sister.
book
We're ready.
is called Nerve, and it is about an alien coming to Earth. Well, I didn't tell you guys this before, but it's about a city. She's coming to a city where aliens and humans live together. They coexist there.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
And it's about acceptance, and it's about love and friendship.
Those are really good themes, especially in this this day and age. We need that business.
So it's a fantasy, but also with social messaging.
Yes.
Okay. Was it always your intention to bring those two together, or was it organic? Did it just happen?
Yeah, it basically just happened. I knew that I wanted her to be an alien coming to Earth for the first time, but I didn't really, I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I didn't realize it was going to be, the characters were going to evolve that way.
But, it's great that they do because, we, as writers, we create these characters and we create these worlds, and then we have these little people that we control, and then, but then they develop their own lives, and, they should develop their themes and the things that we see in humanity and alien kind and humankind, and that's important. That makes a really multi-dimensional character. So tell me a little bit about the publishing process. How did that go? Did you face all the J.K. Rowling rejection, and you're hanging in there? You got a great attitude, so you must be hanging in there somehow.
You're smiling, so things are going well.
Yeah, well, they're going all right. I have sent in my book to a lot of different publishers, and I've gotten a few rejections. So, it wasn't, going as quickly as of course it won't, but I put it on Amazon, which you can just do by yourself. You can self-publish on Amazon, and people can go, friends can go download, anybody can go download your book without having to go through a publisher. So
that's great. And, that I think is so empowering. I mean, damn the man, right?
Yeah.
If you've got a good product and people need to find it somehow, and, somebody's going to pick it up, and the right person's going to see it, and they're going to be like, well, shit, why didn't we pick this up?
yeah, I hope so.
I do want to know, what was your favorite? Self-publishing is, it can be a big decision, if you want to be traditional or not. But even just from writing the book to self-publishing to now we're here, what has been your favorite part of the process?
Ooh, I think definitely rereading it, going through it again. It's kind of like going back to, a familiar place and seeing old friends. I mean, that's kind of corny. And
no,
whatever.
You're totally right, though.
But it's weird because it's like they're my friends, but, they're in my head friends.
Right.
So what advice do you have for those writers out there in Lady-O Radio land who are plugging along and writing, after working on their lunch breaks and just trying to make it to, 50,000, 100,000 words and just sweating and toiling? What's your advice?
Well, I would say just write. Don't like be afraid that somebody's going to read it and judge you, because I did a lot of that. And after a while I was like, forget it. I'm putting in the F words and I'm putting in whatever I want, because I'm not going to sit around waiting for, people not to be here, so I could write whatever I want.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
kinda weird
That's
to
a
say,
phenomenal way of looking at it. And you are a mother. You have an amazing young girl.
Thank you.
She's a ball of energy.
Yeah,
We're gonna
she's a little
put her-
firecracker.
When the end of days comes, we're putting her on a hamster wheel and we're going to be just fine. How do you think this process has helped you set a good example for little Quinn?
Ooh, a good example. Well, with writing and with doing the music and things like that, I mean, she can see me doing things that I love to do, and hopefully that'll encourage her to do things that she loves to do, instead of going to a place she doesn't like every day and working. And hopefully she can just do exactly what she wants to do in her life. I hope she does.
Well, that, and I think there's so many messages too, to like digging in and finishing and getting it, like writing all
true.
that. You've got, you have a young daughter, and this process took you how long,
Oh gosh, this book, it's been a beast.
Years. Yeah. So, I mean, you obviously were raising a daughter and, holding your house down, and I'm sure your husband desperately needs your care, as they tend to do.
Yeah.
So, you did it. You kind of nailed it all.
Oh,
And
no, thank you.
And that's I think that's a really great message to send to your daughter and everybody else out there, and that you can do it. You just have to keep at it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And write as yourself. Don't think about other people when you're doing it.
Yeah,
That's basically my only advice.
well, that's awesome. Again, your name and your book and where we can find it.
My name is Leah Ruth Hart, and my book is called Nerve, and you can find it on Amazon.com.
Well, we are going to go download that.
I'm so excited. I've been needing a new book,
And-
so I have one now.
And now we also ask our Lady of Radio listeners to download it.
Woo!
And we will make sure that a link gets tweeted from the Radio Free Radio Twitter, which is at No Radio Radio followers.
And on Radio Free Radio on Facebook.
That's right. And
All the social medias.
that's right. I know the internet will know of your book.
And make sure that when you read it and you love it, which you totally will, go on Amazon and leave a positive review for Leah.
That's
Oh, that'd
right.
be great.
Yeah. And
I would love to hear what
Let's
people
encourage
think.
each other.
let's we need more kick-ass authors in the world,
And especially lady ones.
especially kick-ass lady authors, and especially kick-ass lady authors from Hampton Roads, who are brave enough to wander into the studio clubhouse to talk to us on
been
our
great.
on our
Again,
crazy inspo.
We use the word studio very loosely.
I mean, it is a
here.
studio. We've got
Ish.
microphones.
We've got ghosts.
Yeah, but we also have microphones, so that helps.
But also now we have aliens. Because
Because
they're in a
Leah's
book.
here and she's wrote a book. She's got aliens. Thank you.
I'm not accusing you of being an alien unless there's something you'd like to talk to us after we go
yeah,
off air.
that's cool. I mean, love and acceptance.
You just
Yeah, write what you know.
And friendship.
We're gonna have an ET situation on our hands. We'd like to prepare. Leah, thank you so much for being here and being our very first guest. You are our
Aw.
queen bee of the week.
Thank you
you.
so much, Leah.
Thank you guys for having me.
So who's your queen bee of the
Okay,
week?
so my queen bee of the week is Miss Laura Jane Grace. She's the lead singer of Against Me. She is a transgender woman. She is a rock star. She is an icon in the LGBT community. She's my queen bee because she's basically taking a law that is directed specifically at people like her and kind of giving the middle finger to it in its own special way. If you've been living under a rock, you may have noticed, may not have noticed in that case, that North Carolina passed a bill called House Bill 2. And what it really does is, in the name of quote-unquote religious freedom, using that term incredibly loosely, basically it targets the LGBT community, specifically the transgender community, and preventing them from using their gender identity in terms of which bathroom they want to use, which in all honesty is actually a very dangerous thing. and it has been widely criticized. A lot of folks have canceled their gigs. Cirque du Soleil canceled their gigs in North Carolina. Bruce Springsteen canceled his concert in North Carolina. And for all intents and purposes, no one really would have blamed against me for not wanting to perform in North Carolina because Laura Jane Grace is transgender. However, she has decided to, rather than in spite of this law, but because of this law, carry on her show in North Carolina. And she told BuzzFeed, "I'm going to create an event around the show as a form of protest to say that despite whatever stupid laws they enact, trans people are not going to be scared. They're not going to go away." She went on to say that visibility as an act of protest is more important than ever in times like this. She's basically, not saying, okay, well, we're gonna do it, but the show, but we don't like it. She's like, oh no, I'm basically putting on the show as a fuck you to the people that want to discriminate against me. And I just think that takes certain gusto, that takes certain bravery, because again, she is transgender and has been for some time. I believe she came out as transgender many moons ago. She's been Laura Jane Grace as long as I can remember. But she's really just, she's taking a stand in her own way and really just creating a safe space for members of the community. Brandi Carlile, she's an openly lesbian singer. She's doing the same thing. She's continuing to perform her North Carolina show, and basically saying that where she is performing is a safe space. And I just, kind of sticking it to the man. I feel that that's really that's worthy of some recognition, because I don't think anyone would have blamed her for saying, you know what, I'm not comfortable performing here.
Yeah, there are a lot of members of the arts community, performing arts, showbiz, community who are speaking out in various ways. A lot of companies are canceling their productions, and then the ones that are still performing in North Carolina, which is, by the way, home to a large, a lot of area. There's, beautiful beaches and the mountains, and they have a pretty good tourism program, and that stuff's starting to take serious hit.
Yeah.
Mumford & Sons, they had a concert coming up, and they're still putting it on, but they're donating all the proceeds from that to a local LGBT charity, which, if you can imagine, the situation of being LGBT is mercifully progressing in some areas, but in the Carolinas, obviously, it's not doing as well.
Yeah.
And but he's taking the time to call out a local nonprofit and benefiting them with their shows. And it's a sticky situation. And so often I look at the world today and I think, our future historians going to look back on us in 2016 and say, oh, they were in the dark ages?
Yeah, I mean, what did we do? We discriminated and looked up videos of cats. We're not doing too hot.
Yeah,
at the
and
moment.
as far as like scientific progress, it doesn't feel like we are where we should be in 2016.
And I think what a lot of people don't understand is they're saying, oh, well, this is... This does allow people that have gotten their gender changed on their birth certificate to use the identity to use their true gender identity, but I don't think that people realize that gender transition and gender conformity is a very expensive process. And if you are in the beginning stages of transition, if you are even in the middle, and you have not been able to get in front of a judge who it is the one who is going to change your gender on a birth certificate or not, you're basically discriminating against people who aren't in the same process as others, and think, oh, well, it's protecting our women and children. Really? Because more government officials have been arrested for bathroom crimes than transgendered persons. Okay.
Well, I mean, not only that, but it takes a weird gray area position on just those who are kind of androgynous, or asexual, or don't particular, and that's a lot of people, and honestly, that's nobody's business.
Exactly.
And it's, I have no, I love everybody, and
I don't.
you can believe what you want to believe and have the kind of life that you want to live. And some people may disagree with you, and some people may agree with you, and that's okay. That's what makes our culture and society the way it is, and we have the freedom to do that. But just don't be a dick about it. Don't deny someone basic human rights because you disagree with them.
I don't love everybody. I don't love closed-minded people. And if you're a closed-minded person, just look at it. Look at the other side of the spectrum. That's all I ask. And for the love of God, you are not going to be. The women and children are not at risk. Don't lock your doors and windows. You're fine. We are progressing as a society. We are giving people who deserve safe space that safe space. Just because you disagree with it doesn't mean that gives you.
Well, I think the argument is that these people
way.
think that they don't have safe space, and now you disagree with them, and that's fine. But I think everybody is entitled to love and respect, and even those who are closed-minded, even though they're dumb, and we disagree with them, I still think they're entitled to their rights and opinions, and if.
They absolutely are, but they don't have the right to discriminate against others so that they sleep a little better at night.
It's such a touchy area. I think that I disagree with the decision. I would have voted against it. I absolutely.
That's the thing. The people didn't even get to vote against it. It was just the Assembly and Senate. This never got to a public vote.
Well, those were elected officials.
Well,
And, the system is not as it should be. And there are a lot of problems. And, I wish that it would get ironed out, and it's not. But your queen bee is doing something about it in the way that she can.
Is.
And that is a positive thing. And we need to support those who are spreading positive messages and fighting for equality and equal rights and, fucking civil rights, basic human rights.
Yeah, basically.
And
because we're having to do that in 2016.
That's the things those are the things, and there's so much of the world that does not have the rights that we enjoy in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And, we need to focus on the helpers and we need to focus on the good. And your queen bee of the week is doing that.
Yes,
so that's
she is.
awesome.
Yes.
And go her, go Brandy Carlisle, go Mumford and Sons, go
Joel McHale, who donated all of his proceeds
Yes.
to the cause. So go everybody who believes that we're all equal. Hooray!
Yes. So
We will be back. We're going to take a short musical break, and after that we're going to call some bullshit like we do. We've got an update. We've got an update to one of our things from last week. It's going to be fun. We'll be back. It's Radio Free Radio.
I call bullshit.
I think this might be my favorite segment just because it's holding people accountable for their absolute nonsense. Like, bitch please is fun because I have a safe space to rant, but like I call bullshit, I'm like, no, you are doing it wrong.
Yeah. So I hear we have an update to I call bullshit.
We do, but
week.
before we go into the I call bullshit of this week, we have an update because yours last week was on Charlize Theron.
Yes,
which
that
I now
lovely
know how to
long-legged
say her name,
goddess,
Chidor Dior, and all that nonsense. So she says she never intended to imply that her good looks are somehow a career liability. The remarks she made to British GQ, like, oh, I can't get pretty roles. She is now calling the remarks such an incredible misquote. She says, what I was really trying to say was that people always ask me, why do you play so many characters that are deconstructed? And my point with that was how many characters really are out there for a woman wearing a gown. You have to play real people. Context is everything, and if somebody doesn't get that or it doesn't translate, people can really read that so wrongly. And she also says, I don't want to blame anybody. There's no blame. There was just maybe a huge misunderstanding. I've never really spoken in that way. The idea that I would ever say anything that made it sound like I was ungrateful for the career I have today, I feel terrible. So she does say she was misquoted. I can understand maybe how it was lost in translation, but she definitely said it wrong.
Yeah, it came out wrong, and good for her for clarifying.
Yeah.
And okay. Yeah. I'll buy it. And now on to this week's I Call Bullshit.
I call bullshit.
is still the manufacture, distribution, packaging, and marketing of bullshit. Bullshit is everywhere.
Global bullshit. I call bullshit. Bullshit.
There it is.
We got some bullshit happening
God.
in Norfolk, Virginia. We got some bullshit happening. And college campuses all over the damn planet.
What is happening?
So last week, all right. So it is very common on college campuses to bring in speakers or to hold panels about sexual assaults on campus because it's huge.
Yes.
And underreported at a government level and underreported at a police level. It's a big clusterfuck when it comes to sexual assault on campus. And
No one's going to disagree with you on that. Don't worry.
it's that is the bigger overall I call bullshit, but I will hone into that later. The reason why this is coming up is because after one of those said panels about, sexual safety on campus, sexual assault, what it looks like, how to report, whatever, an ODU freshman
Oh, no.
an ODU freshman named Shaquan Wells, who I believe is affiliated with the basketball program, although I'm not sure now. He tweeted, I have witnessed it all on this campus. Shorty got that pill Cosby last night.
Oh, I heard about
And
this.
that circulated through local
that's
media.
right.
A lot of those sororities and fraternities, and it became an investigation on campus, and it became a very public thing, which, at this point, I'm glad they're looking into it. I've got all kinds of bullshit on this, though. First of all, I think it's abhorrent when people treat sexual assault lightly.
Yes.
And I think that there are few and far between cases of women reporting assaults that didn't happen. But I think that women are often blamed for it. And there's always the question, well, what were you wearing? What were you drinking? You were on a date with him. Did you say no? How many times did you say no? And those are not questions that should be happening. The questions that should be happening are, what is his name? What is his phone number? When can we interview him? And I think that everyone should go through due process because that is our, but I think that, obviously we're Americans. Anyone accused should have his or her day to, appropriately plead his or her case. But I think it all needs to be taken seriously. And so that's the first part, is that, obviously someone has witnessed something. He says, I have witnessed it all, and was a bystander.
Yeah. Did
And-
nothing.
And that is a huge problem too. And I've been roofied. Thank God nothing happened.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
I did not
no.
know this.
Yeah, that's a story. Yeah, I was at a bar and I got roofied. And 1 minute I was fine, and the next minute I was on my ass.
Oh, no.
And then it turns out later, I was talking with some, this is when I lived in Atlanta, I was talking with some girlfriends, and we all managed to get roofied at the same bar and at various points throughout the, years that I lived there. And we figured out that it's got to be a bartender roofing girls. And we don't know if he had to, I don't know. There's no real explanation we came up with. And luckily none of me nor any of my friends who had experienced being drugged actually met with any unfortunate consequences.
Oh, my God.
But it really could have easily happened. And the bystander effect it's a psychological thing, and human beings can't help it to a certain extent. You yell rape and no one runs because they assume someone else is going to take care of it. And it's hard to say. It's hard to say how you would react in that situation. If something ever happened to you, if I ever saw some guy put a something in your drink, his ass would be knocked out. But if it was some girl I'd never met, okay, never mind. His ass would still be knocked out. But it's like a weird.
It's hard because I think there is a genuine fear of overreacting, and God forbid you accuse someone of doing something that they're not. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you can't be too careful. I remember a couple of years ago, I actually got thrown out of a bar because this guy was making really unwanted advances at my friend, and finally it was behind a body of water, and I told the guy, if you come near my friend one more time, I'm going to throw you in the lake. a bouncer heard that and was like, oh, you gotta go. I'm like, really? This guy's, trying to, basically get all upon my friend. I put a stop to it. But, I mean, yeah, should I have threatened to throw him in the lake? Threatening is bad. But still, I needed to get the message across. He wouldn't leave my friend alone. And she was really not in any state at that point to be having social interactions. The problem is, as bystanders, I get that people are concerned as to the consequences of their actions if they intervene, and I think we kind of need to release the stigma that if you're wrong, you're wrong, but if you're right and something's going on and you don't do anything about it, like, come on, like.
Well, there's you got to think that there's a good Samaritan law that's in place for those who try to save someone's life and maybe crack a rib during CPR,
right,
or
like they can't see you if
yeah,
if they
or
get
like
hurt
in some cases they save someone committing suicide, and that person that's happened before, and unfortunately there is legal precedent for that, but there is a stigma with it, and also campuses make it out, and and this is every campus across the country, make sexual assault and rape out to be less than it is by fudging their statistics, because they have, and this is a nationwide and probably global problem, they have their departments for their schools, their police departments, who report their crimes, and if the crime to the cities, and they only report a portion of them, and those only have to do with whether the student called 911 instead of the campus security. And while I was in college, I never, fortunately, had to call 911 on any sexual assault. But I did have to call 911 when I was there because I had an ex-boyfriend who went crazy and tried to kill himself, and it was this whole thing. So I called 911. And I'll never forget, I'm still in this panic, and this guy he was like stalking me. It was a bad scene. But he calls me and told me that he overdosed on drugs. He had just taken a bottle of something. And I called 911 because that's what you do when someone tells you they're killing themselves. And I'll never forget, campus security called me back, and before asking where the guy was, who I was, where I was I in danger, was he in danger, before asking any of that, they said, why did you call 911? And I'm like, are you kidding me? I called 911 because this guy I know is trying to kill himself. And they said, well, why didn't you call, the campus security number? And I'm like,
I don't have that memorized.
Because I
911
wanted
is what you do.
an ambulance because he needed his stomach pumped. I don't understand why this is an issue. And that is the bigger problem, because not only is, and don't get me wrong, the officers there are upstanding people, and they care about students, and they work hard, and they put themselves in danger. And I'm not trying to minimize their efforts or work in any way. But these statistics need to be accurately reported, because there are legitimate dangers, and there are legitimate steps that the community needs to take, and that women need to take, and that men need to take to ensure or prevent these actions from happening.
I think that I'm going to go ahead and say, I think that Old Dominion University is doing a fairly good job of being reactive to these situations. You have to work with the cards you're dealt. I think ODU is handling this investigation well. I think they've handled the investigation last year with the fraternity house well. As a person who has attended classes at ODU, I have seen less than stellar work in their proactive work to prevent sexual assaults. Panels are not going to be enough. Quite frankly, there is, as someone who has taken night classes, there is not enough security at the parking garages by the TED or by Foreman Field or any of that, where basically students are having to, carry their keys in their hands like brass knuckles, ready to, go swinging at somebody. There's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah,
but
I don't think that's an ODU thing either. I mean, exclusive.
It's not just ODU, but given this stemmed from ODU, I'm sure that is a huge problem at every college.
Yeah,
it certainly was. 10 years ago, at my first school. Just from my personal experience.
Well, and honestly, we could probably say that about every city block, whether it's on a university or not, And frankly, the climate of police activity in this country is not optimal at the moment for recruitment or quality of candidates. And like I said, by and large, our law enforcement community is hardworking and honest and diligent and cares only about our safety. And but the sexual assault thing continues to be a problem. And I think that taking it lightly and underreporting and blaming the victim are all bullshit. And I'm calling it. I call bullshit.
I'm proud of you.
Bullshit!
There it goes.
There it is.
All
All right,
right.
let's move on. What is your bullshit?
We're going from one crime to another. I am
Calling bullshit on crime.
I am calling bullshit on people who defend their friends who fuck up. And the backstory is this. There is a Disney Channel star. Her name is Debbie Ryan.
Okay.
She has been arrested. She was arrested and is out on bail, $100,000 or something like that, for driving under the influence. She got in a car. She was drunk. She blew way over the limit. So there's no way she didn't, quote unquote, feel anything. And she's currently undergoing her due process. Here's the thing. Her, a young lady named Allison Stoner, who actually would, you know, the Missy Elliott videos, the little girl in those videos, like back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
This is the girl. She's now a grown lady.
Okay.
When someone asked her about the DUI, she said, "It could have been anyone. We all in the industry have a different amount of spotlight on us during different points of our lives. It's most important to give a lot of space and a lot of room for your human story to work itself out." Your homegirl committed a fucking crime. And here's the thing. I get, and this is going back to what you said. Because I know of somebody who went on trial for sexual crimes, was convicted of some, acquitted of others, and the entire time this trial was going on, the big thing that I saw all over my Facebook was, well, he was such a good guy. He was such a good coworker. Just because you have a high opinion of the person does not make them any less liable for shit that they do. If she got in the car knowingly under the influence of alcohol and drove off, she needs to be held accountable for it. You could have just said, "I don't want to talk about it." You could have said she fucked up, but it could have happened to anyone. Are you going to tell that to somebody whose, loved one might have been killed by someone? Debbie Ryan's lucky she didn't kill anybody. She's lucky she didn't kill herself. She, like, this high amount of bail money that she's on is basically the best case scenario that could have happened to her because no one is dead. I'm just, for me, I have noticed more and more people coming to the defense of others who commit DUIs, and I don't get it. You can disagree with me all you want, but I'm calling bullshit on it, because you are knowingly. That is one of the stupidest things you can do. Not only is it stupid, but it's a crime. Now, I will say this. I have a personal bias towards this because, as we all know, once upon a time, Katie Kaboom was married, and I almost became a widow because of a drunk driver who decided driving on the wrong side of a freeway was, an appropriate course of action. And by mere seconds, he walked away from the scene. But for all intents and purposes, he probably should have been killed. But I want to, but I cannot condone anyone who comes to the defense of someone who commits a DUI, and I'm calling bullshit on it. I have to, because it made me so angry to read this.
Yeah, I'm going to agree
Could it
with
happen
you.
to anyone? No, it happened to someone who was stupid enough to get in the car.
I think, okay, so I have a great number of people that I love in my life. I'm very lucky. And they have been morons at various points in their life. Now, lucky for me, no one's ever been criminally moronic in that situation. But if one of my very dear friends, one of my besties, my boyfriend, he better not, I'll kill him. But, if anybody found themselves in that situation, they got busted, they could have put themselves and others in danger. My answer would be, I still love them and I will be with them through this process. But what they did was a crime, and it was horrible, and my prayer is that they never do that again.
And honestly, you are a bigger person than me, because I do know somebody who last year was arrested for DUI, and while I have been friendly to them via social media, I actually haven't seen that person since it happened. But I think once it did, I wouldn't be able to speak to. I wouldn't be able to look at them.
I mean, I think that.
But then again, that's probably my personal bias towards it. So.
I would be incredibly disappointed, and I would, clearly there is other issues there, and I think that forgiveness is a long road. Mm-hmm. And I can say that, if it's someone that I truly love, then clearly there's a lot going on there, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous though when someone says, "Well, we all have our stories."
They made a mistake.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I think it's absolutely ridiculous, and I don't think anyone should get away with having done something that would have possibly killed themselves and others and caused great damage to lives beyond their knowledge. Mm-hmm. I think that's absolutely ridiculous, and especially if you're from a situation where, well, really nobody has any excuse, but especially if you're from a situation where you could call anyone in the phone book and say, "Hello, I am celebrity," and anybody would come and pick you up and drive you anywhere. Like whenever
even as a normal person, you don't even have to call somebody anymore.
Go freaking Uber.
You push buttons,
and
that's it.
It's absolutely, it's ridiculous, and I think that the people who love and support us in our lives should and would continue to love and support us regardless of how much we fuck up, because we all do. Not that this is on the same level, but I do think that, like, coming to the defense of someone who's obviously committed a very dangerous crime is bullshit.
Yeah,
I agree.
The look on your face, like I thought you were going to disagree with me on it, so I was like, "Come at me," and then you supported me, and I was kind of happy about it. Look at us,
because you're
friendship.
You're logical. That makes sense.
Hold on. Just so we're clear, I wasn't logical on purpose. I'm not proud of it.
Yeah, well, let's not get crazy.
Well,
bitch, please.
Bitch, please.
Bitch, please.
Bitch, please!
Thank you, Church Lady, for that rousing bitch, please.
We need it. We need
Her
that
name is Church Lady. She is a magical fairy who lives in our soundboard, and she says "bitch please" to introduce us to "bitch please" because it's time for "bitch please."
Let's explain what "bitch please" is.
You explain it. I'm not as inspired because I went on this super rant, and it turns out our mics weren't on. So,
"Bitch please" is a segment in which we take the behavior of a particular individual and call them out on their absolutely ridiculous nonsense.
Well, I'm calling out society in general instead of an individual person. I hope that's okay.
That's okay with me.
Okay. Basically, "bitch please" is where we just rant about stuff we're pissed off at.
Which is also the other segments. But let's just go with this one.
Whatever.
Bitch please.
So my bitch please this week is a PSA to people. So shit's been hitting the fan in my little world lately. And it's just stuff that can't be prevented. I'm going through a move. Work is super stressful. Basically, I have two real elements of my life. I have my work life and I have my home life. And unfortunately, neither one of those is really a place right now where I can escape stress, because I'm dealing with an impending move that is going to be financially taxing. It is emotionally draining, physically draining. Work right now is just beating me senseless. And so I'm trying to, open up about how much stress I'm going under and all of that. And the number one response I'm getting is, "Well, just think some positive thoughts about it."
That's pretty invalidating.
Yeah. Do you think I haven't tried that already? Here's the thing. It is hard to think positive thoughts when you are surrounded by boxes, or you are surrounded by paperwork, or you've got 14 emails about, people arguing about a project that you have put your heart and soul into. And there you, literally, for example, we had a teeny tiny little, we needed an answer from one section and at work, and they needed to talk to another section, and it was literally one question that could have had the vaguest answer in the history of everything. And the next thing you know, I'm on a conference call getting chewed out because I had the audacity to bring up this question to these people. The question wasn't even mine. I'm asking it on behalf of someone else, and I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? And then I go home, and it looks like I've gotten absolutely no work done on my apartment to pack up. And it's just like, I had a fucking meltdown on Thursday. And when I told someone about it, they and I will say, even my own mother has been like, well, you just take a deep breath and think positive thoughts. Positive thoughts aren't going to pack my boxes right now. Positive thoughts aren't going to get my projects done. You know what really helps? When people ask, don't stop telling everyone to take a deep breath and meditate when shit's hitting the fan. The most important thing you can do is ask, how can I help?
I think that, and I hear what you're saying. It's incredibly invalidating when people sort of give you a stock answer to what you know is a genuine issue in your life and genuine obstacles and stuff that really fucking gets under your skin. And
hurts.
It is. And what you need to hear is that you're validated. And what you need to hear is that, like, yeah, this shit is real for you, and you know, you're going to get through it. I think, though, ultimately what's happening is people just don't know how to help.
Yeah.
And you know,
and people are too afraid to ask how they can.
Yeah, and I think that this is a problem that men and women run into a lot when it comes to communication and relationships, at least in my experience, God knows.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I had an ex-boyfriend who I would come in and I would just be zapped and shit was just real in my life. You know, I'd come home and it would be like, bleh, like 45 minutes of verbal diarrhea. And he would say, well, how do I fix it? How do I fix it? I don't know how to fix that. And I'm like, well, just fucking shut up. You know, like,
yeah,
there's nothing to fix. And it wasn't until that relationship ended and I was able to look back on it that I realized, you know, that wasn't him. I mean, that was him as a reflection of my stress.
Yeah.
And he was, him fixing it was his action, and what I didn't need was action. What I needed was venting. And we all have different needs at different times, and especially when you're emotional charged, it's really hard to articulate what you need.
And sometimes we don't need you to totally fix the problem. Sometimes we just need an assist.
Well,
if you can take like one thing off our plate, oh my God.
Well, so, you know, but I think it's different for men. They want to fix it. A lot of them.
Yeah.
You know, they want to just, you know, like your doorknob falls off and you get stuck in the bathroom and they want to come and fix the doorknob so that they can rescue you. And on a metaphorical sense, that's a much wider problem in that all of our doorknobs are off and we're stuck in this house full of hell.
Have you seen that video? It's not about the nail.
Yes.
I think that's what it is.
And it's so hard to get that perspective and to step outside because, you know, especially women, we've got, you know, our problems, we've got everyone else's problems in our brain, whether other people put them there or not, because we're empathetic creatures and we want to, you know, if we don't have something to obsess over in our lives, which is rare, then we obsess over problems in our friends' lives or our family's lives or our significant others' lives. And so we've got our problems, we've got other people's problems, we've got environmental problems, we've got political problems, we've got the future, we've got shit that went bad in the past, and then, you know, top it all off with hormones, societal expectations, work, and, you know, all these other factors, and it's completely overwhelming. And you know, and all that, and when we need some sort of release or therapy or understanding, articulating and explaining it clearly is just one more fucking thing we have to do. And of all the arrays of answers you can get when you're losing your mind, it's so rare that you get the right one.
And on the opposite end of that spectrum, I'm going to point out a positive. And I'm going to point to that positive right now with my double jointed little finger. I'm pointing to my boyfriend right now because since the beginning, like literally, like I think it was our second date, was the day that I found out that my aunt was terminal. And that's a hard thing to tell someone that you've gone on one date with. He's like, hey, what's going on? And I tell him, and the first thing he said wasn't, oh, that sucks, sorry, or what. It was, is there something I can do just to help? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, you know what? And there was, and I thought, I kind of scaled back. I said, okay, what's one thing I can take off my plate? Because I was moving again at the time.
Right.
And I said, you know what? Could you help me figure out what I want for dinner? That's all I needed. Be like, oh, you want pizza. And sure enough, he took me out to pizza, and for like 4 hours, I forgot what was going on. And that was like, he's always said, okay, what can I do to help? And even if it's something as small as, can you pick out dinner tonight, or can you take the dog for a walk, or can you give me a neck rub because I hurt my neck this morning.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff makes a huge difference. It makes all the difference in the world.
So all I ask, okay, next, a project for everybody. Next time someone comes to you with a problem, just go, hey, is there like something I can do to help? Do you want me to take, like, just offer to take a teeny tiny morsel off the plate, because that's all it can do. Because guess what? Positive thoughts and meditation ain't always going to fix it sometimes.
Yeah, especially too, and this is a hard lesson for me to learn, because I've never struggled with depression myself, but encountering people who have, it's if you've never dealt with it, I just had to acknowledge that I will never understand. So in order, when someone struggles with depression that won't let up, you can't tell them, try meditating, try yoga. It's not about that. It's not about putting them in a more positive place. It's about something in their head that is fundamentally short-circuited, and they can't even articulate what they need. And really, don't tell someone with depression to just perk up or go for a jog, or because you can tell them. I mean, really, it just comes down to just loving them anyway.
Yeah. And here's the thing. You admitting that you're not going to understand it actually does a lot more than you think. Because if you know that you're never going to understand depression or anxiety, we are completely fine when you admit that. And we're not asking you to understand, but saying, hey, I don't necessarily know what's going on, but maybe I can help in some, little way, like just, tiny, tiny little things. That's enough.
Yeah, it's I think there's a lot of psychiatric disorders and spectrums out there that are not understood and need more study and understanding and destigmatizing and all that stuff. But that is for another episode.
Do not try to fix what you do not understand. Just offer to lend a helping hand. Holy shit, I made a rhyme.
She's a poet and she don't know. We
Okay.
can't get her to stop rapping, ladies and gentlemen.
But I can come up with heavy stuff. What's yours?
All right.
What's next?
My bitch, please, happened on Good Morning America last week, and maybe the week before.
I see. Okay, I didn't hear this, and I'm kind of excited to talk about this because this will be interesting.
So Sierra and Ludacris were reading the nominations for the Billboard Music Awards on GMA, and they were doing it live. And I like Sierra. I like Ludacris. I lived in Atlanta. They're both from Atlanta.
ATL.
And I have respect for them as artists. And they both have won their awards in their past and have done some great work. Now, Sierra was married to a rapper known as Future.
They were actually never married. They were just engaged.
Oh, well, they were engaged, but they have a child together. They have a son. And when he was nominated, and I'm not sure for which award, but he was nominated, which is a big deal.
Which, for all of his faults, he actually he did put out a pretty decent album, but
Right. Well, she would not say his name. They were reading off the nominees, and she would not say it, and she had this weird, awkward pause. And they're on live television, and Ludacris had to pick it up, and they got through it, but it was like this obvious throwing shade that was completely unnecessary and silly. And what struck me was the absolute immaturity of the situation. I can acknowledge, and I do, and I respect that performance artists and rappers and actors do not necessarily sign up to be role models. You know, they take on a certain amount of being public figures. They take on a certain amount of notoriety and fame and all of it that comes with that. But they don't necessarily sign on to, you know, be the best examples all the time. They're human beings just like the rest of us. They're just trying to make a damn living. And if I had to be in the public spotlight all the time, I'm sure I would be a hot mess. But I think that she, I think she mishandled this situation, and that it just wasn't how it should have been. And you know, my thing is that they named their son Future, and if she can't say her, you know, and I'm sure that they must have had a hellacious breakup, and I'm not.
Oh, you have no idea because I'm about to give you some backstory, boo.
Yeah, but it's not about that. They have a son together, and you can't even say his name. I mean, it's not Voldemort, for God's sake. You know, I think she just should have ladied up and said it and done her damn job.
I will agree with you on that.
I mean, that's her son's father. She's going to be connected with him for the rest of her life, and you know, she's got to get it together.
Okay. So while I can definitely see where you are coming from, I am actually going to have to give you a little bit of backstory. I'm going to have to play devil's advocate with here. There is a very real possibility that when she was announcing the award, she was told not to announce his name due to the fact that right now she is sued Future for $15 million for slander and libel. This stems from a situation in January where Future took to Twitter and basically called her relationship with Russell Wilson, who she is now engaged to, has called it a publicity stunt, has said that she has created publicity stunts to fake her and her fiance's engagement in her son's life. Basically has broken child support agreements by saying how much he has to pay in child support, and has essentially basically come for her as a mother. He has flat out said he doesn't think she's being a good mother because she's constantly having her son's photo taken with Russell Wilson, even though it's like they go to visit Russell Wilson at football camp and someone happens to take a picture of it. So while I agree that there needs to be professionalism, I can certainly say that if it had gotten to the point where there has been a lawsuit filed against my baby daddy. I don't actually have children, but if I had to file a lawsuit against my baby daddy, I don't know that I'd be saying his name either. And I could understand her possible discomfort with the topic, but I agree, professionalism is important.
Well, I think that should there be a legal situation involved where I can't, I don't have a law degree, but in my legal understanding, it seems weird that saying his name would be an issue. But if it is, and she's uncomfortable with that, and being that the nature of the lawsuit is libel and slander, then that would make sense. Then she needed to have said that to the GMA producers and say, I don't get the slate that has my ex-fiance's name on it. I'm involved with legal action. And as a TV producer, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
give it to Ludacris. I get it.
I think there was a certain failure of communication there. I certainly think there was a failure of communication between Sierra and the producers, or Sierra and Ludacris. But I can see where she was coming from a little bit.
I think what needs to happen, and you know, it makes me cringe when women are in, well, no, not women are in a position of power and notoriety. They should be, but when a woman takes her position of, you know, positivity and power and intelligence and talent and success and turns it into, you know, and gets dramatic and crazy and makes themselves look bad and makes women look bad. And, it just bugs me. Like, be better.
Yeah,
be better than the
rise
stereotype.
above.
I respect women's rights to do whatever they want. And if they want to be crazy bitches, man, let your flag fly.
Let your freak flag fly.
That's not my business. But, I think that when you're in a position to choose and you have the option and you have the capacity and you have the financials in line to be good, be responsible.
Be good, but don't be stepped on.
Yeah. But I don't think that her acknowledging that her,
Because as much as I don't like Future as a person, I have heard some of those tracks and they are fire.
Yeah, well, I don't like Kanye as a person, but I listen to his albums.
Yeah.
And acknowledging that someone is, not your favorite person, but contributes something to the world, I think is a mark of a mature human being. Mm-hmm. There are plenty of people in my life that I'm like, you know what, I don't want to be in the same room with them, but good for them for
Kill
this
them with kindness
thing that they did. It's not even that. It's just calling a spade a spade.
There you go.
I don't think they're a good person, but they contribute to the world. They contribute to the world with their intelligence or their talent or their, I don't know, converting oxygen into carbon dioxide, like something, but
there you go.
She's getting my bitch please because I knew that she.
Part of sisterhood is not only supporting each other, but calling each other out when necessary.
I like Sierra. I want her to be better, and I want her to be happy, and I want her to be secure and grounded in her motherhood and with her past relationships and her future one. That is why she gets a bitch please.
All right. That is fair enough. Okay. And that will do it for Ladio Radio on Radio Free Radio. We're on Fridays at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, 6 Pacific. I don't know Alaska or Hawaii, but,
We're on there too.
Yeah.
RadioFradio.com. It is our station.
It is.
And we will see you soon.
And become a patron. $1 a month and you can listen to us whenever you want.
That's right.
We
are all yours.
That's not even like a value price.
We will come to your computer whenever you want us.
That sounds dirty.
Yeah.
But hey, you got to do what you got to do. Oh, we got a fist pump from at least one man in the shed.
Everyone take a shot.
Stay golden, stay girly.